Well, we obviously have seen a rise in the use of things like ChatGPT in the last couple of years. But one of the questions now being asked is, can you use AI to help with the brainstorming of ideas? Gideon Nave was part of a research project done on the topic. He is an associate professor of marketing here at the Wharton School. Gideon, great to talk to you again. How are you, sir?
I'm well, Dan. It's really hot outside, but we are in a nice fresh aircon here at Wharton, so no complaints.
Absolutely, absolutely. Air conditioning is nice at this time of the year. Hey, let's start, I guess, with the genesis of the idea, and is part of this kind of the transformation we're all going through and understanding just how much we can use things like ChatGPT and in what areas and maybe what areas we can't use them.
Well, the work we've been doing recently was about creative tasks. Now, creative tasks, I would say the goal of them is to come up with something that is novel, like more routine tasks of, just maybe translation, right? Translation, you have a sentence, you will translate it. It doesn't have to be surprising in any way. It doesn't have to be novel. Finding a new ways to do translation is a creative task. And when we talk about creativity, we talk about things that are novel and useful. That's, people don't seem to agree on the definition, but when people see something that is creative, they do seem to agree that it is creative. I've been teaching creativity at Wharton for a while, even during the time when ChatGPT came out. I was in the middle of class, and I even got to do a live demo of it at the time. And actually, what I remember in this class, I actually demonstrated to people, to my students, how you can use GPT to just write an email to your professor. And I wrote an email where you write an excuse to the professor, like why did you not submit your homework in time? And one of the students said, "Hey, ask it to write a creative excuse." And GPT did it well. It came out with the idea that my project turned out into something that seemed like a product, and I was working very hard to do it, to get it into market, and I missed the deadline. Right? That's very, very creative, and that's the old GPT, the first one that came out. So, and we know that these models have a tendency to hallucinate, meaning to come up with new stuff and pretend that they know it. So for for creative tasks, it's actually pretty useful and cool. And these models are trained on a lot of human thoughts, expressions, emotions, and whatnot. So we definitely see a great potential here. And some companies have been doing it too. Coca-Cola, for example, used AI to come up with a new flavor that is like the year 3000 and so on. The thing is that us as scientists, what we want to do is go beyond these anecdotes and try to systematically understand what's going to happen if all of us are going to start using AI for our creative processes.
And realistically, when you're talking about the link between creativity and what companies look for, in many cases, that's a core element of their operation. They have to be creative in order to be able to take that next step in their success level.
When you're in a competitive market, obviously, like creativity is key. You want to do something that your opponent cannot do, and you want to beat your opponent. Whether it is as a company that tries to compete with others, whether it is an employer that competes for promotion, and so on. And in this sense, creativity is an ever-moving goalpost, right? If I tell you a joke now that you've already heard, that's not going to be funny. If I tell you a joke that has the same principle that you may have already heard about, maybe it has a chance. And in this sense, maybe getting the principles of a joke, like sometimes you kind of build something and then you break a pattern, that will be like maybe a joke like this could work.
So you mentioned Coca-Cola, Gideon, about how they use it. How much expectation should we have that companies are already using AI to enhance the creativity that they have?
Many companies are using it already, and what we as scientists try to do is to try to go beyond these anecdotes and get into real science and see what is going to happen if everybody is going to use the same model, such as ChatGPT. It's very possible that a new AI is going to give you an edge, but a non-specific AI is kind of the very start, and that's where we come to the studies that we recently published. So a study published in Nature Human Behavior about 4 or 5 months ago did an experiment where they gave people various creative tasks, such as coming up with a novel use for a garden hose and a rocket, or coming up with ideas to buy for an 8-year-old birthday. And they randomized people into groups that either could use Google searches or ChatGPT, and they just compared the creativity of the people who used the former versus the latter. And they found that the GPT increased the creativity overall of every person. What we did, though, is once we reanalyzed their data, we found that GPT indeed increased the creativity of every individual, but it made also everyone more similar to one another. And if this is the case, we actually end up with less new ideas as a group. Okay, so it's kind of like a prisoner's dilemma, where it's the benefit of everyone to use GPT. They, on average, become more creative, but then as a global company, as a society, we're going to become more similar to one another, and then we're going to actually smother creativity.
And do you potentially end up losing, the individual creativity, because how one person is creative compared to another is most likely different, and you're coming now with a more kind of steady path, straightforward path of the same types of creativity if you're relying on ChatGPT?
Exactly. On the long run, I think that once all of the ideas are available to everyone, I'm pretty sure that, we call it the sprinkler effect. Like the one use that GPT came up for garden hose and a rocket ball is to make sprinklers from it. It's an idea that is great. It's useful. It's novel, and it's rated highly. But if I'm a manager, I'm going to get 50 different proposals of what to do with that, and 20 of them are sprinklers. I'm probably not going to judge the people that came up with the sprinkler as more creative, even though, if I get one sprinkler, it seems like a great creative idea. So I think we need to be careful here.
So this is very much like a lot of things around AI right now. We're kind of testing where it's taking us, but we still have to be wary as to where it's going to take us down the road.
I think that one, initial promise of studying AI was to look at an individual and how it makes the individual more X, Y, or Z. When it comes to productivity in maybe routine tasks, it makes sense. When it comes to creativity, where creativity is always measured against the prior art, against what everyone else is doing, using GPT in a conventional way is going to make you look conventional, because everybody is going to use it the same. Even though, if you're the only one using it, it will make you look like a superstar creative person. But we're talking here about technology that is available to everyone. So there are risks here. And one of the emphases in my class, my creativity class, I fully endorse AI. So I wouldn't say that, don't use AI, but there are ways to use it, and there are smarter ways to use it than just asking it, hey, come up with a creative solution to my problem.
Gideon, great to talk to you again. Thanks very much. All
Always
the best.
done. Thank you.
Thank you. Gideon Nave, Associate Professor of Marketing here at the Wharton School.